Tuesday, and welcome back to another episode of MSL Lead Chronicles, where leaders learn from leaders. I'm Mary Morton, and along with my buddy Chad Fellers, we have casual talk about the challenges and successes in medical affairs with the most exciting and impactful professionals in pharma. As always, we have another great one for you today, so stick around.
Welcome back to another episode of MSL Lead Chronicles. Grab your coffee and join us. I'm your host, Chad Fellers, along with my nifty sidekick, Mary Morton. How are you, Mary?
I'm terrific as always. How are you?
Oh, I am better than I deserve. I'm looking forward to an extended time away this weekend, little bits to celebrate Easter. How about you?
Yes, very much so. I'm hoping for some nice weather. But even when the kids were little, it always seemed to rain on Easter Sunday. And so we ended up doing Easter egg hunts inside the house.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's that. I mean, you have to improv, right? So I think it's
Yeah.
monitor, adapt, and adjust, and very similar to the MSL role, right? Or any of the type of field medical, always having to adjust to the environment, even when something doesn't go as planned. So
Yep.
anyway,
Problem solving.
so many different transferable skills, and that's why I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. I know that you have been at Congress after Congress after Congress, and they're different
I
flavors.
know, it's weird.
But, one of the things I think that's they have in common is BBCD. We'll just call it that way. So, building relationships, bringing value, collecting insights. Wanted to learn a little bit about the recent society meeting that you went to, the Pinnacle Society, and there's so many different things I think that are transferable that you learn that's specific to field medical roles. So why don't we get into it? Tell me a little bit. What is the Pinnacle Society?
That's a great question, actually. So the Pinnacle Society is an invitation only organization of 70 of the top recruiting professionals in North America. Plus, we have one in Australia. So,
I think the meeting should happen in Australia. Then I think
what's funny is we said that so the person who lives in Australia, his name is Pri. I said that to Pri whenever we had the meeting last week. I said next meeting should be in Australia. But yeah, it's an honor, first of all, to be in this organization and be recognized in that way. But it after just coming back from MAPS and then going to this meeting and talking to different of my peers, right? And sharing best practices and attending sessions to help us improve upon our craft. I was sitting there thinking, so many of these things are the same things I just attended sessions for in New Orleans at MAPS.
Wow.
And, I always kind of joke about how whenever I attend these best practices sessions and meetings, whether it's MAPS or any of the other best practices, I pull in a lot of ideas and new skill sets that I feel like I can apply to my job, as a leader of other recruiters, as well as a recruiter and a business development person myself. So yeah, I feel like the trends and things that we were talking about at the meeting, for sure.
So let's dig into that. So takeaways and how will these impact those that listen to our show?
So there was a big focus on storytelling, as as a part of our role in delivering information. There was insight gathering. They didn't really call it insight gathering, but that's what it is. And then there were a lot of stories of resilience and overcoming different obstacles, either from a personal perspective or from a business perspective. Just everything that we discussed, I felt like was so familiar from things that I hear from you guys. So we talk a lot about, if we are the top 70 recruiters in North America and Australia, um, what sets us apart? What are the things that we do well that we want to keep doing? Um, and some of the discussions we talked about were some of the, um, well, I don't want to say complaints, but I guess the things that we're hearing from our clients about what are, um, why do you choose to work with a Pinnacle recruiter versus one that is not? And I will say also, recruiters in the Pinnacle Society, every single one of them is niched. Um, they have a teeny niche, like I do.
So this is beyond
And
Pinnacle Society. Let's back up just for a second. Just real brief. Is it just medical affairs recruiters, or is it just recruiting
oh,
all at large? Right. So you talked about the
oh
Pinnacle
yeah, no,
Society,
my,
top
my bad.
70.
They're from all niches or niches, depending on how you say it. So some of my closest friends are in um, accounting and finance, or HR and administration, um, or specific areas within IT, or there are some people who work. There are like 4 or 5 other people who work in the pharmaceutical industry, but they're in different areas of pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
Which, I just want to say, I get calls all the time for, hey, do you know a recruiter that specializes in sales? Do you know a recruiter that specializes in regulatory affairs? And I do. So that's another great thing about this organization, is that when my clients need support in regulatory affairs, that is not my space. And so I can connect them with another great recruiter like that.
Got it. Okay. All right. Now carry on.
Okay, sure. So some of the discussions that we were having was why some of our clients choose to use us over someone else. And we want to continue to do the things that our clients are looking for. So um, they tend to say, I like working with you because this is the value you bring to me, and the follow through. But a lot of it was really about knowing what you're talking about. So, and a lot of that does go to the storytelling piece. It's delivering the information in a way that is meaningful and that resonates with the individual person.
Okay.
But, like, you guys can't walk into a doctor's office and not be prepared to have discussions on topics that they want to discuss. And that's the same thing for us.
That's one of the things I've always selfishly been impressed just in the times we've worked together is full disclosure. There have been when you've called me over the years, I think some of the things that you bring forward to me, I've never heard of the disease or really the disease or the condition things that the organization is trying to address, and you speak to it so confidently. I'm almost like, wow, maybe you went to pharmacy school and I didn't with this. So yeah, I think it is. I think there's something about that kind of instills confidence. You really get to know the clients as well as their passion, their the mission statements, all those types of things and opportunities. So definitely see that is that's a differentiator.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you. When we had your KOL friend on, and he was talking about, you know, the people he chooses to see or not. I mean, that's the same thing with a recruiter. Is like, you're not going to pick up the phone to spend your time talking to somebody that you don't have confidence in.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing. It's the same thing for us too. So beyond that, we got into AI.
That was going
Um,
to be my question, right? Is how do you leverage AI to support this type of thing, even potentially?
So I think a lot of people, when they think of recruiters using AI, they they think that we are um, writing resumes, or we're finding matching candidates, and it's not that. The ways that we use AI um, is in learning more. It's almost like a better Wikipedia in a lot of ways. Um, so I I'm working on a role right now that is a field physician, and I they want field physicians who have relationships with top thought leaders in a particular disease state.
Okay.
So I got on to my Diane, my chat GPT, and I asked her to find me the top thought leaders in myasthenia gravis in the state of California.
And how did that
And
happen? And what happened?
instantaneously, Diane told me the top 6 myasthenia gravis KOLs. And, before I test this out, I say, do you know what a thought leader is? And she says, yes, a thought leader is da, 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 da. And then I'm like, okay, I'm confident that if I ask her to go find me these top KOL names. So, if I think if you're going to be going on an interview, um, I think candidates can use AI to say, okay, who are the most important people that I am going to be seeing in this new TA that I've never worked in before? I mean, it's the AI is super valuable. This one person gave a demonstration where he said it was all audio, like he wanted to get feedback from his AI, and so he pitched a job, and yeah, she critiqued him, and she said, a little more of this, a little less of this, or, you know, um, that doesn't sound interesting to me. If you can talk more about this, that'll sound interesting to me, because we also have to remember that, even though there are a lot of similarities between recruiters and MSLs, from a high level, um, we don't know what is going to really interest a person with a particular background. And so that's helpful. I mean, the only other way to do that is say, okay, if I'm going to pitch you this job, Chad, how should I pitch it to you in a way that's going to be interesting to you? Then you're going to be like, don't you know what you're doing? But, that, how quickly AI can bring you that information back is incredible, because otherwise I'd be spending 3 hours and I would still find that information on my own, but it would take me forever to find it.
That's great. I love so many different ways to kind of speed up some of the processes. It's being smart with your time, leveraging the resources that you have. What else did y'all talk about?
Well, I want to tell you this one more thing about AI, which I did as an example in getting ready for us to have this discussion, is I asked Diane to compare the similarities of what an MSL does to what a recruiter does. And because I just wanted to, I've been saying this for like 10 years.
Yep.
About the similarities. I have to tell you, she's like, subject matter expertise. You have to have deep subject matter expertise. You have to have strong and strategic communication skills. You have to be a good relationship builder. You have to be able to work in a team as well as independently. I mean, I could go on and on. I'm not going to, but AI did that. Diane did that like in 4 seconds. So I think there's so many things AI can do, and there's a lot of other tools I can share with you later, but I think we're just really scratching the surface. And it's not this, it's going to replace us thing. It's not going to replace MSLs. It's not going to replace recruiters.
Yeah,
So,
it's augmented intelligence, not artificial, right? That's how we need to think about it. It helps augment the things that we do. What else? So you talked about storytelling. You talked about all the different overlaps utilizing AI. What else?
well, and this is actually like one of my favorite sessions at MAPS. We were talking about how to become a better interviewer. Because and this I think is another thing that, as we're talking about, separates a good MSL from a great MSL, separates a good recruiter from a great recruiter. And that is, do you walk into an interview with a list of 10 questions and just ask those questions and then you're done? Or do you know how to really engage and ask follow-up questions? Same as an MSL. So there was a lot of really good discussion around that too.
That's so key. I think one of those things when we think about even like the key insight questions that we ask our teams to go out and execute in the field. You really want to understand what's driving the behavior of what's driving the answer that was given. I love hearing that's not an unusual thing or unusual approach.
No, and that's the point, right? Because as recruiters, I'm not talking, you talk to a candidate for your job.
Yeah.
I'm talking to someone broadly and not just trying to fit them into one job. It's, I want to know what drives them and the things that they're going to want to know about, positions that are going to interest them, science, technology, whatever that is. Just like when an MSL goes in to visit with a thought leader, you have to glean from that person the kinds of topics, research initiatives they are going to want to be contacted about. Yeah, so it's doing it in a way that helps you gather up all the information that you need.
Yeah.
And not feeling like I'm just checking my boxes.
This is good. What else, Mary, did you learn?
Well, I think one of my favorite things about going to Pinnacle, and we have meetings twice a year, spring and a fall, is the community. I think if you, like any cross section of friends and colleagues that you've had over the years, everybody is going to have wins and everybody's going to have losses and struggles, and nobody's life is always going to be, puppy dogs and rainbows, right? And so having people who are my heroes tell stories that your heart just breaks for them because of what they went through. And you're like, I went through that too. It humanizes them a little bit. It makes you feel better. But you're also surrounded by people who are there to give you a hug and lift you up. And they're the things that this family of people in Pinnacle have been through. We lost 2 members this year due to cancer. Not this year, but in the past year. We have one person whose husband just recovered from prostate cancer, and one, my favorite vendor just got diagnosed with prostate cancer. But it's recharging. And I think if you talk to anybody from the Pinnacle Society, they will tell you that they need that time to get recharged and refocused and just to be around their people. So I love that every twice a year. I look forward to it.
So, but what you're talking about is exactly what you and I have been trying to replicate here, right? With MSL Lead Chronicles, where leaders learn from leaders, the importance of being able to share best practices, just like roundtable discussions. It's almost, it's in ways, I did this one year with my field team as well. It's almost like creating soap notes like we did in pharmacy school. Basically, you're building a playbook to understand how to navigate by listening to certain experiences, sharing those, and then even kind of problem solving. You all of a sudden are able to start filing away different types of things to help support you in the journey, but then still at the same time building that trust and network that you could reach out if you're having an issue. So having that connection with others to be able to ask them questions or even be able to vent about certain situations. I think that there is something that is important if you really want to be in that next level of excellence, which really shows. But you have to be able to continue to grow. So how long have you been a part of the Pinnacle Society?
Like 10 years.
How do you think that you've grown out of what's been the value? Can you give a couple of examples of how you've leveraged this for your own growth?
Yeah, well, first of all, again, like when a medical affairs leader goes to a conference or something and learns something new and brings it back to bring value to their team. So, but and I will say that a lot of the things that I have learned over my 30 years in recruiting, I've learned from other people. I mean, I and and I've been able to share some of my experiences with people too, sharing ideas on how to be better at what we do. Um, so it's that, like I gave a training to my team earlier this week of all of this cool AI stuff, so and they're like their minds are blown, just like mine was in the moment. And then but I think there's a little bit of validation if I see other very high performing people, my peers doing some of the same things that I'm doing, that I'm on the right track. But then also getting a lot of ideas from people. But what else is I'm able to bring value to my clients if they don't know a good recruiter for another vertical, like regulatory affairs or biostatisticians or something like that I know somebody to connect them with. In fact, one of my friends, his name is John Seeger. uh, he does more of the sales in the commercial, and he does a lot in like diagnostics. He and I are putting our heads together on Monday to talk about some of the referrals that we can share. And so I think there's been that. And in fact, actually, you know what? I've been able to refer some of my hiring managers whose children are graduating from college and they need a recruiter who does IT in Kansas City. And I happen to know somebody who's in Kansas City who does IT, because IT is really more of like a regional thing, not a national. I'd love to be able to do that. And I don't like to refer people to recruiters if I don't know them personally. Because it's like recommending a restaurant or a movie. Like, you're like, did you like the restaurant? No. Ugh. You know.
What I just heard about this, I think one of the values that Pinnacle Society offers for you is it grows you beyond just your particular niche, if you will, to be able to learn and apply, and then the value of having an extended network beyond just your comfort zone as well too. So even thinking about that from the medical affairs perspective, right? There may be a PhD, for example, that has their PhD in neuroscience. Well, they've done this for years. It still would behoove them to start making connections across other TAs, right? I think part of this is the transferable skills that you can go beyond just what your initial your focus and expertise is, and be able to grow it, because you never know what it may lead to, whether it's a direct connection or, as you just mentioned yourself, connecting other people that you know, or your family members, whoever that might be, right? I think you don't. Sometimes we settle for playing in a mud, in a puddle, versus being able to swim in the ocean. I think that's because we don't look up and we're not putting ourselves out there. So
Yeah. And a puddle is small and dirty, and the ocean is big and beautiful. So why would you settle for the puddle?
that's right. There is sharks may look like they might bite, but I don't think that they always do. Right? I think we can swim with them every once in a while and learn how to manage that. So
Yeah.
how do we take away some of these learnings from the medical affairs perspective, from your view, based on what you've learned from your experience with Pinnacle Society?
We are a community, and medical affairs, you're a community. You need to find your tribe, your people that you can rely on, the people you can bounce ideas off of, and help support. One of the things that I've loved to see since we started the podcast is how we've introduced people to people who didn't know each other before, and some of it is just meeting each other through comments on some of our LinkedIn posts, and they've chatted back and forth, and now they're friends. And I know I've been able to introduce you to a couple of people who are now your buddies, and you're running into them at meetings and things like that, and you're able to help each other and share your experiences with each other. That's what, like you said, that's what this is all about. MSL Lead Chronicles is named MSL Lead Chronicles for a reason. Our guests come on, they tell or chronicle their stories and their experiences in the hopes that someone else can learn something from it, or just maybe feel some kinship. Like, I've been there, I've done that, and I'm not alone.
Yes, I think even one of the ways that I love how you've helped facilitate that is creating these little short venues, the Ask Chat Anythings or things like that, where, to be clear, I don't know all the answers times, and I think that I've communicated as such. I try to apply different experiences that may relate to that, but that's how I grow as well too. And so the more vulnerable that we can be with one another, that's really the sign of a true leader, is willingness to continue to grow, to say, I don't have all the answers, so how do I ask the question? So just another plug to those listeners, to throw out questions or different scenarios so we can talk through and learn together. And if you have those, or if you even have different ideas that you want to discuss on a podcast, feel free to reach out. We are a community, and we're always wanting to. Mary and I have several ideas, a long list of things to talk about, but we want to be able to make sure that we are addressing the needs that are relevant and quick to at the forefront of your mind. So a lot of these things are really, really good, Mary. Thank you for thinking about things, just even in the context of the Pinnacle Society, about how they could even apply to the listeners here at MSL Lead Chronicles.
Thank you for asking me to share, my experience at the conference.
Mary, I
I
learned
don't
from you.
often get asked to share what I, about, my world, and so I appreciate you even asking me to take this time to talk about it. And then I get to talk about how awesome my people are.
Yes. Yes, I learned from you, Mary, and I've learned from you for the past several years. So thank you for choosing to be as transparent as you are, and willingness to share your experiences, your highs and lows. That's how we learn from one another. So that wraps up this week's conversation on MSL Lead Chronicles, where leaders learn from leaders. Thanks again for joining us. Remember that leaders don't develop in isolation. Leaders learn from leaders. Until our next conversation, have a great one and lead well.